we would have saved a few turtles.
I had no idea. No, I had no idea that anything like that was going to happen. Nor did I expect it to get to where it's at.
Now, this is kind of a new story for me, so just kind of tell me the events leading up to what was
Sure.
going on.
I was on patrol, and I stopped into the Lido Beach Resort and was speaking to some of the security guards at the time. There was a family checking in at the same time. I was leaving as this other gentleman was coming in, and I spotted some turtles outside, and he said, "Hey, there's turtles outside," literally. And so I looked outside, and there was a bunch of them coming in. At that point, we just went out to see what was going on, and we saw an exorbitant amount of them in the parking area, and then ultimately in the street.
Could you tell which way were they headed? Were they headed toward the street or toward the hotel itself?
They were coming to the hotel into the front doors. We assumed maybe due to the lights, but I didn't know at the time. We had no idea how they even got to where they were at, because it's so far away from the water.
So what happened? You look at it, you see all these turtles there. What goes through your mind? What do you do at this point?
Well, there's a moment of indecision. Anybody who's been here for any length of time knows that they're federally protected, so you're not really expecting to see anything like this at the time, and you don't necessarily know exactly what to do, but common sense kind of kicked in for all of us, and we just grabbed some boxes and started gathering the ones up that we could find, and then we went into the street to find some of the other ones, assuming that if they're in duress that it would be okay to pick them up and take them back out to the water line at least. That's what we did. I figured I would deal with any repercussions later.
And so you took them all the way out to the water line?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And they found their way from there?
Yes, they did. They would get washed back up, but then ultimately they all made their way back into the water line. So there was a number of, I think 3 that we found that were unfortunately had been, I think, hit by cars. But other than that, I think it was between 80, 85, 90, 100 or so that we estimated that we got back to the water.
How long did that all take?
Probably close to an hour and a half altogether. We made a bunch of different trips. We found the large bulk of them at first, and then went back to find stragglers because we continuously found them. Suddenly there'd be another one in the road or another one in the parking lot or in the gutter.
Baby turtles, or about how big were they?
They were tiny. They would fit into my hand. I took a photo. I don't know if it got out there or not, just to send back to my supervisors to let them know what I was doing for an hour and a half on the beach.
Who assisted you with picking up the turtles?
There were two security officers from Lido Beach Resort who were there, and then 2 husband and wife family out of North Carolina that were checking in at the time that also came to assist. So we all just sort of saw what was going on. I believe one of the security officers had dealt with something like this in the past, and so he had some sort of idea that it would probably be okay to move forward with what we were doing.
Was this at night?
Yes.
Is that what maybe drew them to the light?
That area shuts off their light, like the parking lot right by there, shuts the lights off during this time of year because of the nesting season for the turtles. So most everything on the waterfront, most all the businesses attempt to keep their lights either off or very, very low to not disorient the turtles.
Can you talk about the shaded, the lights are shaded there too?
Correct. Yeah, they'll shade them, they'll shut them off, they'll do everything they can to keep the beach as dark as possible. What they think happened with this one is that it was an undocumented nest that they didn't know about because all the other nests we checked in the area had not hatched. So we don't know if these were somewhere just hidden and closer to the streets and then got disoriented by the lights and started heading towards some of the brightest lights on the street. At that point in time, if you look from the street, the Lido Beach Resort, the front of it is fairly well lit, and so we think that's why they all started to come in literally into the front doors.
Now, I guess it was kind of a quick situation. You had to kind of react, I guess. Did the wildlife folks say that was the right thing, or?
They did. Like I said before, I sort of took the opinion that I would just do what seemed to be the right thing to do and then hope that it was the correct thing to do and deal with it later. I spoke to a lady from the Anna Maria Turtle Watch at the time. I called a number that I happened to find. She put me in contact with Moat Marine, but both persons that I spoke to stated that it was the correct thing to do and that if we had waited, it would have been maybe too late or the wrong thing to do, really. And so that if they're in duress, that we were allowed to do and take the action that we did.
They'll be okay. I mean, I know like if you touch baby birds, the mom disowns them and all that. I mean, it's,
As I understand it, they'll be fine. I asked about that on the phone. They said that they should be okay once they're in the water, and once they make their way out, they should be fine, from what I understand.
You mentioned you were born and raised here in Sarasota.
Correct.
You're 38?
38, yes.
Have you ever seen or experienced anything like this?
Not at all. Not at all. The family that was with us, they were pretty excited as well. I believe they were filming. I think everybody there, the four of us, realized that this is something that you normally can't do. And again, when I spoke to the folks from Turtle Watch, they confirmed that generally being able to actually legally ever touch these animals is fairly uncommon, if not a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So we thought it was pretty cool, pretty special at the time too, to be able to get them back out into the water.
how many times have you been called a hero?
A number online, and if I can address that, it's not that at all. I think anybody would have done the exact same thing in the exact same circumstance. It was just, again, common sense. When you see them in the street, they're federally protected, and you see them obviously confused. I think anybody would have gathered them up and done the same thing that I did. I just happened to be wearing a uniform at the time.
I saw the one picture where you had the one in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
What's your impression of a baby turtle?
They wanted to go. They literally, you would hold them and they would start flapping their flippers like they were trying to get out. They wanted to head to that water and get out of there. So we facilitated that as quickly as we could.
Any wildlife training in a sense with the police officers?
No, not for something like this. We've been trained on how to deal with maybe some wild animals like a raccoon, or we've seen foxes coming through the city at times, or stray dogs, things like that. But this is so unusual and so rare for this area that it's not something that really ever comes up. You would never have that kind of training. It's just completely unexpected.
Now, when you were done, you said there was a family from North Carolina
Correct.
there too?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what did you guys talk about afterwards? I mean, it might have been kind of a neat situation.
Well, they were pretty excited. I remember mentioning to them that they probably didn't expect to be checking in this late at night and to see this, let alone be involved. Interestingly enough, they had said that earlier in the day they saw a sea turtle. I think it maybe Moat or somewhere in the area, and they thought that was pretty cool. And so then later on that night, obviously, then they're involved in helping save these little guys running down the road. So they were pretty excited about their vacation, I think.
Kind of added bonus there.
Absolutely.